Long before it was just the backdrop for American history, the Mississippi River was a character in its own right, a wild, unpredictable, and frankly terrifying force of nature. And nobody, and I mean nobody, captured its spirit quite like Mark Twain. So, let's dive into Twain's masterpiece. This isn't just a travelogue. It's the story of how a young man learned to read a river, and in doing so, well, he learned how to read the world. But before we get to the man, you have to understand the force he was up against. Seriously, this wasn't just some body of water. To the folks who lived by it, it was like a temperamental god, constantly changing the very land it moved through. I mean, just look at the sheer scale of this thing. Twain tells us the Mississippi pumps out 338 times more water than the Thames in London. Its drainage basin is enormous, pulling water from 28 states and territories, an area bigger than all of Western Europe. It's a monster. And this quote, it just perfectly captures its wild nature. The river was always moving, always creating and destroying. It could carve a cutoffs straight through a peninsula overnight, shortening itself by 30 miles and leaving a river town high and dry, suddenly in the middle of a forest. It could even move state lines. A person could literally go to sleep in Mississippi and wake up a citizen of Louisiana. No joke. So you gotta ask yourself, how did this untamable, chaotic river become the #1 dream for a whole generation of young men, including the guy who would one day become Mark Twain? For Twain and his buddies back in Hannibal, Missouri, being a steamboat man was it. It was the absolute pinnacle of existence. Dreams of being a clown or a pirate, they came and went. But the glory of commanding a steamboat, man, that ambition stuck. But that whole romantic dream, it crashed head-on into a brutal reality. Under his mentor, the legendary pilot Mr. Bixby, Twain found out that piloting wasn't about high adventure. It was a science, an exact science of perfect, flawless memory. There was absolutely no room for "I think." A pilot had to know. The curriculum was just immense. Twain had to memorize 1,200 miles of a river that changed its mind every single day. He had to learn it forwards, backwards, and even on a pitch-black, moonless night when it had no shape at all. He had to learn to read the meaning of every single ripple on the water's surface. And let me be clear, the stakes of this education were, quite literally, life and death. Mr. Bixby wasn't exaggerating with that promise. One single mistake could wreck the boat and kill every single person on board. And this constant danger, it wasn't just an abstract idea. It became tragically, horribly real, in an incident that would haunt Twain for the rest of his days, completely shaping how he saw fate and loss. It was a crazy twist of fate. After a huge fight with another pilot, Twain got himself transferred off the steamboat Pennsylvania right before its next trip. But his beloved younger brother, Henry, who Twain had gotten a job for on that very boat, he wasn't so lucky. He was still on board. The explosion was just devastating. The entire front of the boat was obliterated, and fire broke out instantly. The survivors, many of them terribly burned and injured, were just left stranded on a nearby boat under a blazing sun. Twain raced to Memphis, where he found Henry horrifically burned. He sat by his brother's side and watched him die a slow, agonizing death over 6 long days. That personal trauma and the crushing guilt he carried over it, it profoundly shaped his view of just how random and cruel life could be. So, after facing death and finishing this brutal education, Twain finally earned his license. And in doing so, he entered one of the most powerful and exclusive clubs in all of America, the Mississippi River Pilots. Now, this number isn't just about a salary. It's about pure status. Pilots were, as Twain put it, the only unfettered and entirely independent human being that lived in the earth. They made more money than the ship's captain, and they outranked him too. The second a pilot took the wheel, his word was law. And how did they protect all this power? They formed the Pilots Benevolent Association, a union so incredibly effective that Twain called it the tightest monopoly in the world. It was pretty much a secret kingdom, built on shared knowledge and protecting their own. The association's strategy was nothing short of brilliant. They set up a secret system of locked mailboxes on wharf boats to share real-time information about the river's constant changes. Anyone outside the club was left dangerously in the dark, which, of course, led to accidents. Pretty soon, insurance companies would only cover boats that were helmed by association members. Just like that, the union had absolute control. But you know how it is?
This monopoly, which seemed completely indestructible, wasn't brought down by rival pilots or shipping companies. It was defeated by the relentless march of history and technology. The Civil War stopped all commerce, and after the war, railroads and tugboats made those majestic steamboats a thing of the past.
So after all that, what was the big lesson? What was the ultimate takeaway that Twain carried with him long after the steamboats had all faded into memory? Well, it wasn't just about how to navigate a boat or master a trade, not at all. The river taught him a completely new, much deeper way of seeing the entire world.
Twain realized something profound. Once he learned to read every ripple on the water, every sunset, as just a sign, a warning of danger, or a feature to be memorized, he'd lost something precious. He couldn't see the river's simple, breathtaking beauty anymore. The romance was gone.
And right here, this is the crucial point. This bittersweet education, this gaining of deep knowledge at the cost of innocence, is the absolute key to his entire career as a writer. The ability to see that deeper current, to look right past a beautiful surface to find the hidden truths and dangers underneath, that's what turns Samuel Clemens, the pilot, into Mark Twain, the author. It's a powerful idea that really sticks with you, right? The river taught Twain that real understanding means you have to look deeper than what you can see on the surface. And it leaves us wondering, what might we see if we learned to read the hidden language of the world all around us?